Hey guys, this is Raleigh Jones with routerbeast.com, and in this section we're going to take a look at an EVPN lab. We'll be mainly configuring one device in this lab scenario, um, and that will be PE1 in this particular topology. So you'll notice here we've got a service provider cloud environment where each of these routers in the cloud are iOS XR routers. We've got a P router in the middle here that's providing connectivity between the different provider edge routers, um, and we'll be having EVPN circuits or EVPN connectivity going from PE1 to over to PE4. Um, and that's really what we'll be focused on there. We'll also be setting up our transport, our access connection here, our AC out to the CE device, the attachment circuit, should I say, the AC out to the customer edge router here. So we'll be configuring that on PE1, and that's a gig 000 interface. We'll be setting up that interface for the attachment circuit. So we'll be doing our EVPN configuration here on PE1. The PE4 EVPN configuration has already been complete, and I'll show you that after we do some of it over on PE1. And then in another section, probably in another video altogether, I'll do some troubleshooting stuff. I'll show you some troubleshooting steps. Okay, so let's get started. I'll pull up my lab stuff here. All right. So notice we're on router one here. All right, we're on router one, and the first thing we're going to do actually is we're going to set up we're going to inject some local MAC addresses or inject a local MAC address that would associate with that gig 000 interface. And that's simply due to the nature of the environment that we're playing with here. And so I'm going to pull up, sorry, I'm going to go ahead and I'll just do it from here. All right, so we're going to go in here. We're going to say L2 VPN forwarding. Come on. Oh, no, sorry. Actually, not needing to be in the configuration mode. L2 VPN forwarding, um, and I'll do a question mark. Show you the options here as we go here. Inject. We're going to inject a local MAC, and you can see that. And we're going to be doing an add MAC address, and then we'll specify a MAC address here. So we'll just say 10AA. Um, 10A dot 1234 dot 4321, and then interface. We're going to say we're going to do gig 000, and then we'll need to specify a location there. All right, so that location will be 00 CPU 0 there. Okay, and so that injects a local MAC address associated with that particular interface. Um, Now we're going to go ahead and set up that attachment circuit. And so looking back at the topology here, once again, that's that gig 000 attachment circuit. That's what we'll be doing the configuration there. So we'll go config T, interface gig 0000, and we want to set this up as an L2 transport. Okay, attachment circuits should always be of a layer 2 type, as the layer 3 interface type is not supported um, in this in this environment here. So we're setting up that layer 2 transport there, and then we're going to do a no shut on that, and then we'll do a commit. Okay, and of course, I could have done a show run or show config there, and you can just to see that. But you see that we've got that committed now, and so now we'll go down, and what we'll do is we'll do a show interface gig 0000 to take a look at the status. And so now we see that that status is up. Okay. And so notice also here it's specified as a layer 2 transport mode. Okay. All right. So we see that configuration is all set. Um, and so now we're going to go ahead and begin our EVPN configuration. So in doing this EVPN configuration, we'll be doing that under the BGP router process. And so there's already a router process or already a BGP router process running in the environment. But I'll do a show run router BGP. And so you notice that it's not running here, but we are running an existing BGP process over on router 4. So show BGP, oops, sorry, show BGP, sorry, show BGP summary. All right, actually, let's see, show BGP, what are the address families configured? Okay, this guy's not up yet. But if I do show run BGP, you can see that, oh, show run router BGP, sorry. Yeah, so we've got the configuration there, and I don't want to give too much of that away. That's why I didn't want to jump there just yet. So I'm going to slide that up so we're not focused on that. Um, so so right now we are using BGP 6500. Okay, so config T router BGP 65,000, should I say, not 6500. We'll do a BGP router ID. This is router 1. And by the way, I'll do show IP interface brief, and you'll see that the loopback address is already configured here on router 1. Okay. And so we've just configured that BGP router ID, and now we'll configure an address family. Okay, now the address family that we'll be using is layer 2 VPN address family, and look at the different options that we've got. We've got EVPN, then we've got MSPW, and we've got VPLS or VPWS. EVPN is most often compared to VPLS, virtual private LAN service, which mimics a LAN environment, a broadcast Ethernet LAN environment. And so where that VPWS is virtual private wire service. So just think point to point when you think wire, and then you think broadcast LAN when you see the L for um, VPLS. Okay, so EVPN is in many ways an enhancement or an enhanced replacement in many environments for what we would be running with VPLS. So what we're going to do is we'll set this up as an EVPN address family there. Okay. And then we want to go ahead and configure a neighbor group. We're going to configure a neighbor group. We'll say route reflector client here. Um, remote AS is going to be 65,000. It's going to be doing IBGP. Update source is going to be loopback 0. And of course, we want to associate this neighbor group with the address family that we just created, the L2 VPN, EVPN address family. Okay, so far, show config. We'll take a look at what we've got there. Okay, so router BGP, we've got the router ID. There's the address family being um, configured there, and then of course the neighbor group is set up. So then we want to set up a neighbor. Here, the neighbor is going to use that neighbor group. Now, once again, do show IP interface brief. We're using our loopback address here of 1111. If I do a do show route, right now we do see router 3, which is that P router. Okay, so we're going to be setting up a neighborship here and having that neighborship use the neighbor group that we just configured, that we just created there. Okay, so we're going to set up a neighbor to the 3333 address. Okay, neighbor, uh, neighbor, neighbor, and then we'll configure. We'll drop that in there, neighbor, and that puts us in neighbor configuration mode there. And we'll tell it to use the neighbor group route reflector client. Okay, and then we'll do another show config, so you'll see it all together as one big config there, and we can now see that neighbor is configured to use that neighbor group route reflector client. Okay, and then we'll do a commit. Okay, so now that we've done that, we'll go and take a look at some BGP EVPN verification commands. Okay, so the first verification command that we'll be doing here, show BGP. I'll do a question mark here, and you'll see a list of all these different BGP options. We're going to be specifically looking once again at that L2 VPN address family. Okay, so we'll say L2 VPN, then we'll do a question mark here as well. Once again, there we've got the EVPN option. We could do VPLS or VPWS or MSPW, but we are focused on the EVPN um, option there, and then we want to see a summary. Okay, we're going to do a summary here, and that command is down a little further. That argument's down a little further there, but that's what we're going to be doing here. Okay, so show BGP, L2 VPN, EVPN summary. And so now notice that we have a neighborship established uh, via BGP. So if we did simply a show BGP summary, notice none of the requested address families are configured for instance default. Now the reason why we were getting that command before is because this is specifically, so the address family that the typical show BGP summary command associates with would be the IPv4 unicast, and particularly that's our default, the IPv4 unicast um, BGP address family. And so show BGP summary is looking at that, but we're specifically looking at this particular address family, L2 VPN EVPN summary. Okay, so now we see that BGP neighborship formed with the P router P3. Okay, so PE1 and P3 have that neighborship now established. Okay. All right, so next, want to notice, of course, you can see that the uptime there, that's the one that was just established. Okay, and I'm going to run the command one more time. Sorry, run that command one more time. And notice we've got that one speaker, and the absence of any state here is, of course, the established state. We know that from just standard BGP stuff. Okay. All right, so now let's go and configure EVPN. Let's go and complete our EVPN configuration, because right now we've simply invoked that EVPN address family on the under the BGP process, but we have not configured EVPN, the operation of EVPN up to this point. So we're going to go here and config T EVPN. Okay, and notice got some arguments that you could do there, but we're specifically just going into the EVPN, just going into EVPN process there. That puts us into EVPN configuration mode, at which point we can configure. I'm going to do a question mark here so you can see some different options there. Okay, so we're going to be configuring an instance an instance ID here. Okay, the EVPN instance VPN ID. Okay, that's what EVI stands for there. So we're going to configure that, and notice this EVI, that we'll be configuring. This EVI has to match on the different provider edge devices. So that EVI has to be the same, and so we're already actually using an EVI on router 4, and so we'll be just using that. We'll also want to do it. We also want to do. We're going to advertise. Advertise. We're going to advertise MAC addresses, any local MAC addresses that are configured, and we'll go there, and then under EVPN, we're going to specify that we want to run this over our interface gig 0000, which is that or should I say the attachment circuit um, that was connected to the customer edge router. All right, so then we'll specify that as an Ethernet segment. Okay, so I'm going to just do a question mark here once again. Okay, so this is going to give us Ethernet segment configuration commands. And so we're going to do that Ethernet segment. All right, so specify that. And now that puts us into that particular command mode, that Ethernet segment command mode for that attachment circuit. So notice once we did I'm sorry, going back, once I configured this interface configuration, or should I say added this interface right here, that put us into AC configuration mode under EVPN, which is once again that attachment circuit. Under that attachment circuit now, we're able to then provide additional Ethernet segment commands under that attachment circuit for that attachment circuit there. Okay, so we'll do an identifier. Okay, once again, I'll back up and do question mark. Hoping that did we lose our connection to our viral? Okay, there we go. So I'm going to do a question mark once again and show you the identifier option. Okay. All right. So this is where we'll be specifying our ESI. Okay. So we've got the EVI, which has to match on all of the different PE routers, the different provider edge routers. Now for this particular attachment circuit, the Ethernet segment identifier has to be specified. So this will uniquely identify this particular uh, Ethernet segment within that EVI. Okay, so we'll say identifier, and then we've got type. Okay, it's going to be an ESI type, and okay, we've got 0. It's going to always be the option there, and then we've got a 9-octet ESI value that we have to specify here. Okay, so I'm going to specify 36.37.00.00.00. Let's see, 123.4.00.11.00. I think that's what I want right there. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, sorry. I think I only did four sets of my zeros there. Dot 00. Yeah, there we go. Sorry. All right. And so show config, and we see this EVPN configuration with our EVI of 100. We are advertising local MAC addresses. We're specifying the access, or should I say the attachment circuit there. We then provide Ethernet segment, the Ethernet segment ID under that. And now we're going to do a commit. And now we're going to go and do some more verification. We'll go and take a look at show EVPN. Okay, And we see different options here that we could go with as far as looking specifically at our EVPN um, configuration stuff. What we're going to do is take a look at that Ethernet segment. We'll go Ethernet segment, and you could specify. You could simply press enter here, and I'm going to do that, and you can see. You can see you get the Ethernet segment right there. The attachment circuit specifies the next hop. Okay, the next hop that's being advertised. Um, the next hop that's being advertised across that attachment circuit. Of course, that is our router, that is us. And now I'm going to specify detail here. As I mentioned, you could go a little further here. So we're going to go show EVPN Ethernet segment detail. Okay, so we see the ESI has been configured right there. All right. Um, and let's see, down here under source MAC, notice the source MAC is now showing incomplete configuration. That's because that injected MAC address that we specified earlier does time out um, after it does time out after some time there. So let's see. So we've got so we've got the interface, we've got the Ethernet ESI segment there, but this once again this just gave us additional details, and specifically we can see source MAC address that's coming across that link. Okay, um, and so let's move on. We're going to go down now and let's go show EVPN. Um, Once again, question mark, and we'll look at different options here. This time we're going to grab that EVI. We want to take a look at some EVI information here. And so question mark again, we can simply press enter. That will show us the EVI in a the EVIs in a chart here. Okay, so we've got um, EVI 100. Encapsulation is using MPLS, bridge domain not set, and type not set, etc. there. But we want to go and we want to take a look at more in detail that particular VPN ID. Okay, so we're going to say VPN ID and we'll specify 100. And once again, you could simply press enter here and it gives you just the table information, the same information that you saw before, but once again, we want to see detail. We want to get some more details here. And this is where now when we see that same information that you saw in that chart up there, but then it digs into more detail down in here. Notice that we have specified this particular EVPN, this EVI to advertise MAC addresses. Okay, so we've got that specified. Okay, the enablement of those locally learned MAC addresses has been specified in our configuration, and you can see it there in the output. Um, in addition to that, you'll see some other information here. Some of this information would populate as traffic is actually being injected and going across the network there. Okay, so now we're going to go and do some additional configuration. We're going to go and configure a layer 2 VPN link to the EVPN EVI configured above, that we just configured a moment ago with an attachment circuit to enable forwarding and MAC route exchange. Okay, so we'll config T L2 VPN, and we're going to create a bridge group. Bridge group. We'll call it 100. Bridge domain, we'll call it 100 as well. Now, by the way, these are simply names, and they do not have to match what we had before, but we're just using that. Now, under that bridge domain, this is an L2 VPN bridge group that we're creating, and under that bridge group, we're specifying a bridge domain where we'll put that interface, that attachment circuit, gig 0000. All right. And we want to notice, check this out. Got all these different options. Oftentimes what we do here is we'll configure a particular interface, and then we'll specify um, we'll specify several different parameters, um, but we could specify here. I'm missing something here. We can specify. Oh, I'm going to do an exit here and then do a question mark. This is what I'm looking for. Okay. Um, so oftentimes what we do is we specify, we use this L2 VPN configuration section to associate, say, bundle interfaces with a routed BVI type interface. And so that's what's being done under this L2 VPN, bridge domain section under different circumstances. Here, what we're doing is we've already specified and assigned an interface to this bridge domain, but now what we want to do is we want to associate that interface, that attachment circuit, we want to associate that with that EVI, that Ethernet virtual identifier, that Ethernet VPN identifier. So we'll specify here EVI, and we've already given a designation, of course, of 100. We do EVI 100 there, and show config, and now you can see L2 VPN bridge group. We see all the configuration there, and so this EVI is going to associate and basically be tied to that attachment circuit. And so we will do a commit. And now let's go and take a look at our command that we ran earlier. This right here, show EVPN, EVI, VPN 100 detail. You'll recall that earlier when we looked at that command, we VPN, VPN, there we go. Here we go. Right in here. So we started looking here, right here. All right, so earlier when we looked at this, it said bridge domain not set right there. You see that? All right. So now, in addition to that, yeah, so bridge domain was not set. That's one item right there that we should see differently here. Okay, so I just pressed enter. And so now we see that bridge domain set. Okay, so we just ran this command right here. And so now we see that bridge domain set as 100. EVPN is our type. And so now, going down a bit further, yeah. Um, Notice that here the route distinguisher is automatically created using that EVI identifier, okay, using the EVI. So it's basically um, the the router ID along with that EVI number, okay, and then you see the autonomous system for route target and the EVI identifier, okay. All right, so let's go and take a look at the Ethernet segment. The Ethernet segment detail command that we looked at earlier. And you'll recall that earlier when we looked at it, let's go back up. Get back to it. Right up in here, right here. All right, so here's the command right here. And so when we look at this right here, notice these codes here. Look at the code. It says B and M. M interface was in a down state, okay, and E, the ESI was missing. I'm sorry, not E. I'm sorry. B, no forwarders. There were no forwarders configured. Okay, and the interface was in a down state. Okay, that was the state before for the ES to BGP gates. And then also notice here the H, meaning the interface handle was missing. Okay, so if we run this command again, let's see what we've got here. All right, so at this point, now we don't see those um, no forwarders, and we don't see the interface being in down state. Now we see the Ethernet segment to BGP is ready. Ethernet segment to layer 2 fib is also set to ready. Okay, some very cool details and information that comes up there. And then another command that we looked at, or not, we didn't actually look at it before, but let's take a look. Show L2 VPN. Now you can just hit a carriage return here, and it'll show you the 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 HA role. Okay, but that's not really what we want to do. We want to specifically look at the bridge domain that's configured. Okay, so now we've got this L2 VPN bridge domain. Bridge group under that bridge domain of 100 is 100 once again. The state is showing up. Okay, when you go down a little further, list of EVPNs, the EVPN state is showing up. It also shows an attachment circuit state of being up there. Okay, so some very cool information that you glean from that show L2 VPN bridge domain command as well. All right, so let's take a look at a couple more commands. Um, And this is once again just from the perspective of the PE router. Now we run these same commands over on router 4. We would see these see some of this same stuff. So show BGP L2 VPN. Sorry, the command we just ran there. Oh, show L2 VPN bridge domain. Okay, you can see some of the same configuration because the configuration was already done on router 4. But as we've done and as we've added this configuration over here to router 1, this is where we're able to glean some additional information as we go here. So let's do show BGP L2 VPN EVPN summary. Okay. All right. So notice here we see that there's that neighbor that we brought up earlier. Okay, and we can see the prefix that's been received is 1. All right, so if we do a show layer 2 VPN EVPN, okay, now we're able to see the specific generic type 3 routes from PE4 right here. Okay, we see so from PE4 we're getting under route distinguisher there. We can see that type 3 route. So if you look up here at route distinguisher, these are coming from router 1, but then here you're seeing stuff coming from router 4. Okay, so this is a generic type 3 route that's coming there. Notice the format difference from regular IPv4 routes. The one here is constructed as follows. So if you look at this, that's that 3 there. That's the type. Okay, type 3, and then you've got the Ethernet tag. Okay, and then um, And this is what we call the IPLN, and then the IP address itself, okay, and then the length, okay, the length of the route, okay, okay, the IPLN or the IP length actually is what we've got right there, okay, all right, and so if I press enter a couple of times here, um, we'll see that specified again there. Okay, so that's coming across um, that's coming across from a route from router 4. Notice the route distinguisher, the RD coming from router 4, of course, is 4444:100. Okay. All right. Let's take a look. Um, we're going to re-inject. We're going to go on. We're going to go and do a show L2 VPN forwarding, sorry, bridge domain. We're going to go 100 for the bridge group, 100 for the bridge domain there. And of course I can do this and just show you a question mark there and you can see, okay, bridge domains in group 100. So if I do 100 and then do question mark, oops, sorry, colon, then do question mark there, you'll see, well, the bridge, so the bridge domain, then the bridge group would be the word that you could specify there, and we specify 100, 100, and we can go MAC address, okay, and um, and then it's going to be looking for location, and we'll go with I'm sorry, 00. Oh, I'll show you the question mark. You'll see the different options there, and we want that first one there, okay. I'm going to specify that, okay, and notice it did we did that show and it shows nothing, okay. It's because once again in that original step one option that we did, we ran an injection command, that L2 VPN forwarding inject command, but those MAC addresses that we inject, they do time out after 5 minutes. So what we're going to do is we're going to re-inject that, okay, and then we will go up, and now notice now we see the injection of the MAC address that we specify, okay. All right. Last couple of things we want to do. Last couple of things we want to do on this PE router: show BGP, L2 VPN, EVPN, which is what we looked at earlier. So notice EVPN uses different route types. Okay. So notice route type 1 versus route type 4, and so BGP is going to create a route type 2 right here for that MAC address that we just specified, that we just injected there. Okay, so this is a BGP a route type of 2. Okay, so when we talk about these different route types, type 1 is a MAC mass withdraw or aliasing. Type 2 is a MAC advertisement route. Okay, so so number one, type 1, I'm sorry, is an auto discovery, an Ethernet auto discovery. Type 2 is a MAC advertisement route. Type 3 is an inclusive multicast route. Okay, and then type 4 is an Ethernet segment route. Okay, so type 1, once again, Ethernet auto discovery. Okay, so this was auto discovered. Okay, type 2 is a MAC advertisement route. That's the reason why you see the MAC address there associated. Type 3 is an inclusive multicast route, and so this is what we saw earlier. Those type threes there, those are specific routes that are coming across the tunnel, okay, across that EVPN tunnel, and then type four up here, and that's an Ethernet segment route, okay. Um, and so let's see if we do show BGP L2 VPN EVPN route distinguisher 1.1.1.1:100. And we're going to specify. We're going to grab that guy right there, the type 2. We're gonna just highlight that, drop that in there. That way we can look a bit more in detail at that particular route. Okay, so notice that the PE advertises up right up here. Uh, there's an advertised label. Okay, the local label right there. Okay, notice that the PE advertises a local label that's being sent over to PE4, or should I say used by PE4 when sending traffic towards this MAC address. And so this will be the local label that we would see over in PE4, or should I say that would be the local label that PE4 would be um, sending traffic to in order to get um, traffic over to this MAC address. Okay. All right. So over on PE4, I'm going to just sort of show you some of that. Show BGP, L2 VPN, EVPN. If we look at this right here and go down to, there we go. So PE4 receives that MAC route, which is once again a type 2, receives that MAC type 2 route and other routes, from router 1. You can see other routes, different routes that he's learning from router 1. Um, and then if we go and we want to take a bit more of a look at that particular route, I'm going to go show EVPN, EVI, VPN ID, sorry, VPN, we've got we seem to have lost our connection there. I'm going to pause. All right, so here on router 4, show EVPN, EVI, VPN ID, and 100. And notice we've got the VPN ID, the encapsulation, the bridge. Um, what's missing here right now is the MAC address, and that's because with the pause of the video here, um, we lost that MAC address, I believe, in the table. So let me see if it's still, yeah, see that MAC address is no longer in the table. So I'm gonna go and re-inject this guy. Oops. Just make sure that this is the injecting command. Yep. All right, so I'm doing the L2 VPN forwarding inject local MAC. I'm injecting that or re-injecting that there. That way, if I do this command right here, we'll go back up, and now that that MAC address is back there. So if I do it here, oh, actually, I left off the keyword. The keyword here is there's a keyword MAC that you have to include here. Okay, so show EVPN, EVI, VPN ID, and MAC. that way it includes the MAC address there. And notice that you can see the label. Okay, the next hop, of course, being router 1. You see the MAC address, and there's that label, that same label that we identified as the local label that was being advertised from router 1. Okay. Um, Last little thing we want to take a look at, show L2 VPN forwarding bridge domain. Of course, the bridge domain was 100, the bridge group was 100, MAC address, and we're gonna look specifically at the MAC address for this particular location. Okay, so the location being that CPU, right? We're gonna do that, and there. So the MAC is then propagated there to EVPN, pointing to bridge domain ID 0, um, and that's the bridge domain. Trying to do a show run L2 VPN on this guy. We can see the same configuration, same setup on this guy on either end. But that shows us the MAC address, the EVPN type, showing a bridge domain ID of 0, because it was learned. It was learned. Now this right here is a reference. Let's do show IP interface brief. This right here is the attachment circuit pointing outward. The So that's not the same as the connectivity that's being provided, or that's going over to router 3. So this is the router 3 link right here. 3, 4 there. That's the router 3. That's a link going to router 3 for MPLS there. Okay, so just real quick recap. Show run EVPN. Okay, so we see the configuration there. This is the configuration that we did on router 1. Okay. Now over here, what we did was we configured the attachment circuit. We specified an Ethernet segment, and and I and this was and the ESI that was configured there. Okay, and in addition to that, we can see show run router BGP, and under that, here's where we configured that address family, L2 VPN, EVPN, tied that to the neighbor group, the route reflector client neighbor group, and neighbor router 3. Router 3, of course, is a route reflector in the topology here. And using that neighbor group. Okay, so then we looked at several show commands to verify the EVPN operation. Okay, so Raleigh Jones with routerbeast.com. Hope you guys enjoyed this this little EVPN lab run through. Hope to see you guys in another video. Take care.